It was supposed to be one of the most peaceful mornings I'd had in a while. The sun was just starting to rise over the lake, casting golden light across my freshly mowed lawn. Birds chirped, my old dog Toby napped lazily in the shade, and the hum of quiet excitement buzzed in the background. Today was special. The local news station was coming to interview me. Yeah, me. A nobody in the grand scheme of things, but someone who had spent the last year organizing lake cleanups, fixing broken benches, and rallying the neighbors to beautify our aging little community. And now, they wanted to feature me on their Hometown Heroes segment. I was proud, nervous, sure, but proud. The news crew arrived early, polite and professional. We shook hands, they set up their gear in my backyard, and I helped them connect a few extension cords. The reporter, a woman named Cassidy, was sharp, kind, and quick with a joke. She asked if I was ready. I adjusted my shirt collar, nodded, and we began. 3, 2, 1, and we're live. Cassidy turned to me and started with, "Today, we're in the lakeside neighborhood of Willow Creek, talking to a man who's changed the landscape of this community." But she never got to finish her sentence. From the corner of my eye, I spotted her, charging down the sidewalk like an angry general headed into battle. Sunglasses, clipboard, stiff posture, it was unmistakable. Karen. Our self-appointed HOA enforcer. The queen of unsolicited citations. The nightmare of backyard barbecues, overgrown hedges, and now apparently, local news segments. She didn't walk. She marched. And not 5 seconds into the live broadcast, she yelled out, loud enough for the microphone to catch it. "This is unauthorized." Cassidy hesitated, her brow furrowing. Did she say?" I sighed. "Yup. That's Karen." And before I could move, Karen stomped through the side gate into my backyard like she owned the place. "This is a violation of HOA policy," she barked, pointing at the camera. "You can't film here without board approval." Cassidy tried to remain calm. "Ma'am, we're with Channel 9 News. This is a public interest segment." Karen scoffed. "I don't care if you're from the White House. This is private residential property, and I'm invoking Neighborhood Ordinance 12C. She walked straight up to the camera, waving her clipboard around like it was a badge. The cameraman tried to gently block her, but she knocked over a light reflector and yanked the power cord from a surge protector. "You need to leave," I said, stepping forward. "Karen, you're trespassing. This is my yard." "Not when it violates filming restrictions," she snapped. "No gatherings. No events. No outside press without an HOA permit." Cassidy leaned in. "We're not hosting an event. We're conducting a short interview about local volunteer work. Nothing more." Karen ignored her. "You don't have a permit for that mic stand. That's a temporary structure." Neighbors began to peek out from their blinds. A few even stepped outside. Miss Elsie from across the street hobbled out with her walker, eyebrows raised. George and his dogs trotted over from next door. And even Dave, the guy who hadn't come to a single HOA meeting in 6 years, wandered over holding a soda and a bag of chips like he was watching a movie. Karen didn't care. She was in full meltdown mode. "I'll be reporting all of this to the board," she screamed. "Expect fines. Expect consequences." That's when Tomlinson showed up. The actual HOA president. A quiet man with silver hair and a calm voice that usually put people at ease, until today. He walked slowly down the sidewalk, looked around, and stopped at the edge of my lawn. "Karen," he said, his tone sharp. "What are you doing?" "I'm enforcing the rules," she said proudly, arms crossed. "No," Tomlinson replied. "You're making a scene during a city-sanctioned interview that you weren't invited to." Karen hesitated. "They're violating the rules." "Actually," Tomlinson cut in, "the city emailed us last week about this segment. I gave them verbal approval. You weren't on the call." For the first time in years, Karen looked uncertain. "This whole thing was authorized?" she asked. Tomlinson nodded. "Fully. And now you've trespassed and disrupted a live interview. Karen stammered. I didn't know. Cassidy stepped in. Just so you're aware, my wife is the city attorney. She was the one who suggested we spotlight this neighborhood in the first place. Karen blinked like she'd just been slapped by a ghost. George chuckled. Bet that's going on the 6 o'clock news. It did. Every moment, from Karen barging into the yard, to her ranting about mic stands, to Tomlinson calmly dismantling her, aired in full. Channel 9 didn't edit a thing. In fact, they leaned in. The title on the segment? Local hero builds community, despite HOA turmoil. Social media exploded. Within minutes, hashtag Karen on camera was trending locally. Viewers took sides, most laughed. Some speculated she was a plant, like reality TV. But those of us who lived in Willow Creek? We knew. This was just a regular Tuesday. A few days later, a special HOA meeting was called. It was packed. More residents attended than ever before. People had screenshots, printed memes, and even reaction gifs of Karen storming into the shot. Miss Elsie brought cookies. Tomlinson stood up and read a motion to strip Karen of all her enforcement privileges. It passed unanimously. She didn't speak. She didn't protest. She just picked up her clipboard, the same one that had lost all its power, and left quietly. For the first time in years, the neighborhood felt relaxed. A week later, Cassidy returned for a follow-up interview. This time, the story was about how a viral moment led to real HOA reform. Fewer fines. More transparency. Actual community votes. The residents had a voice again. And me? Well, I was asked to join the board. I said yes with one condition: no clipboards allowed. Karen hasn't spoken to me since. But every now and then I catch her watching me from her porch, arms folded, like she's still replaying the moment in her head. And that's fine by me. Because in the end, all I did was agree to an interview. The rest? Karen did that all by herself. And if there's one thing I've learned living in an HOA, it's this. When a Karen comes charging into your yard during a live news broadcast, you don't panic. You let the cameras roll. And you make popcorn.